In the last year, Scottish Technology Club has run over 20 events and we're now over 3,000 members strong. But we need your help. We want to continue to grow the community, run more events and attract higher profile speakers and opportunities. You can join our Supporters Club and Patreon for as little as £1 a month. For more information, visit scottishtechnology.club/support.
Hello everyone, who's a bit loud. Hi, thank you everyone for coming and everyone for joining the live stream. Okay, it's weird with the mic and the voice, hear my voice back. Cool, we have only one speaker today. I forgot what I was supposed to say. It's going great. Yes, we have one speaker today. I think we're just going to jump right into it. It's Jaime talking about immersive experiences in the browser. Take it away, Jaime.
Hello. So this is going to be a little weird. I'm going to see you. So, immersive experience on the web. First than anything, I am going to show you my way to create immersive experience, but there are other ways. And also this includes other topics like music or combination of colors, etc., and fancy animations that I am not going to cover. But let's go with how to create immersive experience on the web with 3D. First and anything, why this experience on the web? And do we really need it? The short answer is no, we don't need it. Right? Probably all you have built websites without using it, but you might want it. What I mean for this is almost all websites look similar. And don't get me wrong, standards are cool, good, but yeah, it's difficult to show, right, to highlight, to do that, what I like to call the wow to your clients. And how do we do this? Well, one way is to unleash our creativity in the sense of we go out of the comfort zone and we start to thinking out of the box model in CSS. And what I mean for this is in a 3D space, adding a one-dimensional. And not only that, it's because we can actually do that with 3D CSS. But what I like to do is creating real-time experience in real objects, or objects that simulate what is in the real life. And what I mean for this is object that has shadow, object that react to light, right? Objects that are reflecting, all that kind of stuff. Many of these effects are just impossible to do with JS and CSS with plain. So this is again another way to another reason why. And of course, all these get translated in clients more engaged, more profit, of course, and creating that kind of wow to your client. The clients are not going to forget your website or your app or whatever you are going to build. And of course, there are real time. And what I mean for this is you can actually, even for AI, have a really fancy 3D experience on a video as a background in your hero, right? But you can't interact with it, except for moving this, interacting with the sizes or play and pause. You can actually interact. You can click. You can move, interact with the mouse position. It's just impossible because it's a video. And what I'm going to show you is actually full interactive. So the first and the best way to look at this is just showing an example of other people have created. Let's start by Glad Eye. So we got here a fancy video of just flowers that appear, right? But it is also a video. If I move the mouse, you can see that we can interact with it. If I put my mouse over on the flowers, you can see that actually react to your flowers. And also, if I come here, the time stops. That's actually a pretty good way to, to get your clients like, wow, what is this? Again, all these examples are going to be in the slides, and you can check all these examples with more details, so I am not going to go really deep in all that. But let's go to the next one. This is one that I love. Oh, sorry, it's not in the beginning. No. Okay. No. Okay, let's do that. Let's do something simple. It's a little heavy, but we got good internet. And again, we got the Corn Revolution. I love this one. And yeah, we got this really nice illuminated corn. And again, if I move my mouse, right, you can see that the corn interacts with us. And not only that, we have some particles over there, and we can actually hover over the letters. And this uses a technique called storytelling. So while you are scrolling, you can see that the experience is telling by itself. Again, you can go back, right? So full interactive. And yeah, I mean, this is amazingly beautiful, right? Okay, all this is just interactive. All these are 3D experience. This is a little more advanced because it uses a lot of scenes, but yeah, I'm going to show you the principles in a bit. So let's go back. Next one is one of the best. Okay, next one is one of the best studios out there. This is an American company called Active Theory. Has a lot of examples. I recommend you check it out. This one. And again, if I move my mouse, you can see that it's shooting this kind of like rays, or if you have a better name for that. And again, we got a lot of particles, and still, if we go and scrolling, right, you can see that the lighting are changing, the scenes start to appear. I can actually have this fluid effect on the particles, which is like kind of like trees. Same here. I don't know if you can see it.
Can you fill screen on the browser?
Sorry?
Can you go fill screen on the browser?
How do I do that? I believe it's F12. No, it's F12 maybe. No?
You have to click on 3 dots.
So let's just continue, sorry. Okay, so again, we arrived to this show demo, show page, in which we basically are, they are showing all the examples that they have built with these fancy things, right? Again, they have stuff like games, some AR, VR experiences, and using AI. Everyone uses AI right now. So yes. Another one that I want to show you is this guy called Luis Bizarro. He's from Brazil. He's an amazing creative developer. And playing, it looked like a normal website. But if you hover the mouse here, you got this really interesting demo, right? The effect, like liquid. And the way we do this, it's basically manipulating each one of the pixel on the screen using the GPU in real time. So again, you can do this or way more advanced stuff. I'm going to show you something else. But yeah, basically you can do a lot of stuff. So it doesn't need to be like 3D stuff and have all the 3D space stuff. You can just use a normal website and adding this kind of effects to it. And the last one is one made for me. This is really simple. It's basically a chromatic aberration, which if you probably know about photography, this is an error that happens when you take a photo in a really far object, which kind of like distort the colors. But in this example, we got a simple photography, but we can actually move the spectrum of the colors a bit, right? Apply some offset. So basically, if I move the red channel, we can see how the photography start to get distorted, right? So we got the blue and we got the green. So yeah, we can actually manipulate each pixel on the screen in real time. That is the main idea. So let's continue here. Okay. So before going to code and before everything, let's understand the fundamentals of 3D. And every 3D experience needs a scene. Yeah, we need at least one scene. And basically this acts as a container. We put all the objects there, camera, meshes, everything there. This is really useful because it acts as a global entity. Basically we can traverse our objects. And we can actually override some global materials. We can have more than one scene, and we show in the corn example, but this is more advanced, so we need at least one. We got a camera. Again, we can have more than one camera, but they basically act as our eyes. There are more types, there are a lot of types, but the most common one is the perspective camera, which basically imitates how our eyes works in the sense of objects far looks smaller. Okay, we need the renderer, really important because basically act as our bridge between the CPU and the GPU. Yeah. And of course we need an object because if not, it's everything black. So I'm going to talk about this one in the next slide. And we need the render loop. The render loop, it's kind of like optional, right? But again, with the example of the video, it's not that optional as you want to create a real-time interactive experience.
Can you make it, can you full screen this? Just make it look bigger?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I don't remember how to do that. Yeah, it's Brave.
So we go for Brave browser to make it full screen?
Okay, it is. Really easy, right click. Okay, let's go. By the way, this is multi-platform, which means everything that I'm explaining here works outside the browser, works in other languages like C++ or desktop applications. So the same principle apply for everything. Okay, the mesh. Mesh are how we call the object 3Ds. Basically, they are, again, type of meshes. The most common one is the polygon mesh, which is formed by triangles. And we love triangles. And the GPU are really, 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 really good to make triangles on the screen. And that is what they build for. Basically, something important here to mention is that every triangle has vertex, right, or vertices. The connection of the line is basically called edge, and of course the triangle is called face. And we can have high poly meshes, or we can have low poly meshes. There are techniques to make this one look like this using textures, but again, it's a little more advanced. But that is the more important thing of the mesh. It's built, it needs a geometry and it needs materials. And what I mean for materials, basically is the skin of our mesh. It tells the engine how to behave in certain situations. For example, if it reacts to light, or if it's a mirror, it reflects, or if it's like a glass, it's transparent. So that is what the materials does. Let's talk a little about the render loop. And basically, the render loop, if you have played video games, it's what we also call the frame per second, or they execute every frame per second. And the idea is kind of like a stop motion. I don't know if you know this concept, but basically we take a photo, right? And then we move a little, take a photo, and we move a little, take a photo, we move a little, take a photo. Really simple. But this execute, for example, in normal computers, 60 frames per second. Some gamer computer could reach more, but yeah, that is the main idea. And the browser provide us with a request animation frame API, which is created by this purpose. It's half optimized for this, right? It's using every browser and mobile and everything, so it's really safe to use. And this is a simple example of how to use in vanilla JavaScript. Basically, we call the function, and in the function we call the request animation frame. We call the function again like recursively, and in this case we are just render or a scene. So I believe this is the last one of theory. I got here what I like to call the layers of abstraction, and this is what happened under the hood. We got WebGL, which is now I don't remember very well, 12 years old, and has powered most of the experience out there. And this is based on OpenGL. OpenGL is a standard open source of how to communicate with the GPUs, also used by other libraries outside the browser. And WebGL is basically a wrapper, so if you learn OpenGL, you know how to do WebGL. We got the new kit here, which is WebGPU. It has 1 year and is a completely different API. It's a new one, and this is based on Vulkan, which is low level, means a little more difficult to handle, but more powerful. We got then the next layer is web engines. This is what they call is a layer more, and these are the most common one: 3JS, Babylon.js, Play Canvas, and OGL. The examples that I'm going to show you use 3JS. And basically they abstract most of the logic so we can actually start building the experience. That they abstract things like light, shadow, meshes, how to handle GLTF or 3D models, right? And then we got the optional one, which is front-end frameworks. And this is, again, framework agnostic because basically they are wrappers for each of the front-end frameworks out there. What I mean for this is we got Jest.js, which is for Vue, we got React Fiber, which is for React, Angular, of course, Angular, and Trivelte for Svelte, and others. And what they provide is give you the power of all these front-end frameworks, which means we can divide the logic in components, we can use the reactivity, all that kind of stuff. So, toxicity, show me the code. Let's try to do some real-time examples. And this is going to be a little difficult because I have the microphone here. So, here, the first thing I'm going to try to do, well, this is going to be a little difficult here. So, I'm going to try to code with one hand. Let's see how this works. The first thing that I want to show you is that this is just a plain HTML element, right? So if you see, I got my 3D scene here. Again, don't pay too much attention to this. This is built with Threads.js, which use Vue. I am a former open source maintainer of Threads.js. That is what I love it and using. But if you use React, if you use Trivel, if you use vanilla CSS, the logic is the same. So again, this is just an HTML page. And if I come here, this other one. Again, if I go here, I just basically got my H1, and I got my canvas. Everything is drawn in a canvas. And I also want to show you something else here, which is I can import an abstraction, which is log. I'm putting here, just bear with me here. And then this is what this is going to do is log my object. So we got here a mesh, right? We got the geometry, got standard material. This is a realistic material, React to Light. You can see also that our cube, it has light in one side and in the other it doesn't have anything, and this is because we also have a directional light here in this position.
Can we make the code size, the text size bigger?
Ooh, yeah.
Also, do you want me to hold your mic? Like,
yeah, that would be perfect. It's a little difficult to do it with one hand. But
there you go. It's my job now.
Oh, but man, I don't know how to do it.
On Mac, it's wherever that is. Control plus. Function plus. Wherever that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We got it. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that, man. So yeah, we can see that we have the cube here, which basically is receiving the light direction, right? And in our cube, we can see that we got this is the log of the cube, and we got a geometry and certain other properties, so don't pay too much attention, it's quite a big object. And we got things like what is the parents, the position, the rotation, and stuff like that. And basically also important, the material, and all the properties of the material. And here, I'm going to close this one. So we can actually come here and put sphere, and this is going to be a really bad experience, but let's just put here. And we got our sphere. Let's why not increase the intensity of the light. So we can see that we are actually, our object is reacting to light. And this is again because we got the standard material. If we come here and just put a basic material, we can see that it's just plain color, right? Doesn't react to light, I can move. So the light is basically useless. So the first question that you can have is, okay, that look good and everything, but how do I know which primitive are? How do I know the materials? And all this comes from 3JS. Basically, 3JS provide us with the things that I'm using right now, which is, for example, let's just write geometry, and you can see that we got the box geometry with the different parameters here, right? You can see the segment, which is how it's composed the geometry, right? Stuff like that. You can see all the different geometries. These are primitive, some of them are more complicated than others, but yeah. And we can actually see materials. All the materials are already built for us. Lights, right? Lights like ambient light, directional light, etc. And also I am going to show you here just the different type of camera that we can have. So again, just a recap, our scene basically have a trace canvas, which this is all stars, and I believe everything is fine. And I don't know if it is showing? Oh yeah. So I don't know if you can see here, but we got already just with one component the stars out there. So again, if I really zoom out, we can see our star, right? So yeah, we got bunch of abstractions like smoke, precipitation, sorry, which comes already for creating rain, snow. We got something more different type of controls, loaders for different type of 3D models. Things like a little more abstract, like mouse parallax, for example, which create this react to the mouse position already built for you. Things like reflector, etc. We got a lot. So yeah, it's easier than ever create this kind of experience right now. So yeah, let's go with the next one. And okay, one last thing that I'd like to mention is that the importance of creating these things, of this experience on the web. And what happened that before the 3D, or let's just call it 3D, we got, well, I can't see that. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, one last thing to mention here is that before all this experience were two ways. Offline, which is for the cinema, in the sense of they are not real time, right? They basically were for creating movies or commercials, etc. And they were really realistic, right? But if you compare, for example, the years that Toy Story was launched or was released, with the same year of the same video game of Toy Story, you can see that the quality of the game was really bad, right, in comparison with the movie. And this is because one was offline, which means they have all the time to process the image, and the other one was real time. This is changing. This is something important to mention. This is changing because now we got technologies that are making available having that quality in real time. And also, very important, we work on the web. This is the talk about the web. And what I mean for this is that we can have new environments to create this experience that previously just weren't available. What I mean for this is that you can create 3D experience for an e-commerce or for a product. Imagine that you got, for example, a bicycle and you want to sell a bicycle. What best way to show your product than a 3D way, right? There, so the people can just actually look in all the spaces, all the dimensions, what look like. Product configuration, I don't know if you have seen this, but they are quite famous now, in the sense of you build, for example, a shoes or whatever, and you can change the colors and then, pick the sizes, look the product in real time, and then buy that one, the one that you actually built or create or make. And then, of course, amazing portfolios to show all your creativity. And we can create XR, VR experiences. This is a niche, but it is actually possible, and some special hardware to use it and to really take all the advantages for that. But if not, there is no problem, because it's just they will show the same way that we have seen here on the screen. We got virtual maps, we got architecture, again, to show these kind of things, because it's quite difficult to show 2D planes. It's not the same as if you show the plane in 3D, for example, a building, and other stuff like 3D applications and data visualization, all these on the web right now. Very important, image processing, using all the power of the GPU. to, as I show, manipulate each pixel on the screen, and of course much more. So yeah, that was the talk. My name is Jaime Torrealba, and yeah, you can ask me about Vue.js or 3JS or other topic. I actually live in Yorkshire. I am currently work for Bush Security, and I am an ex-JS maintainer open source. These are my social media, so sorry about the blue sky, guys. I did not find the icon there, so sorry. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you have questions, please just drop it.
That was great. Is this working? Hello?
But not for events.
Hello? Okay. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. I'll start the questions if that's okay. Is there any consideration when it comes to using this on mobile and the battery life and stuff like that? I know all the devices are very powerful right now, they can do this, but any considerations you can think of when it comes to devices?
Yeah, that is a very good question. And this is something that we need to take up when we build this kind of experience, because when you have a really powerful, for example, PS5, you actually don't care about how much a model is loaded, the weight. You don't care. But if you are building this kind of experience, you actually need to take that in consideration, because it's not the same if you got a really high speed connection to the internet, or if you have a mobile. So how much longer it will take to download all that assets. That is one thing. The other one, which is not that important right now because the devices are getting more powerful, is the frame per second. So you have to optimize your scene to look the same at, for example, 30 frames per second as it looked for 60 frames per second. Otherwise, one looks really fast and the other one looks like chunky. But yeah, that is. Yeah.
Cool, yeah, that makes sense. Any more questions? Okay, start from. Oh, okay, sorry.
Hi. Yeah. So I have a question around, I guess, the fact that this is a web immersive experience for things like more e-commerce and marketing sites, I guess. How do you handle things like accessibility, if you do? Or is there some sort of frameworks that maybe take care of that? Or is it something you just don't really consider for that? You would have a almost separate website for that? Something I kind of came across a few times when I maybe suggested more interactive things in the past, and it always comes down to, oh, we can't do that because it's not accessible.
That is a very good question again. Okay, the React, which is the Reactive Fiber, is the biggest ecosystem out there, and they actually have a package that translates the 3D object in something accessible, and it's called React Ally. We don't have that in Vue. I really don't know if we have that in other package. What I normally do is don't make it accessible. What I mean is I put it normally using as a background, which is, it actually don't affect the flow of the user. It's just an image. So if you don't see it, you don't have it. But yes, it's something that is there. Normally, they are not accessible by default. I mean, if you have a 3D blob and actually you need to click that, it's not accessible by default. You need to over-engineer it, for is a way to say it. But yes, that is a very good question.
Any more questions?
When you're looking for models and like example like 3D models and stuff, like what sites and like what resources are you using to find like what you use in your projects?
Fortunately, I have plenty, like really plenty examples. I would, for example, the most common one is a Sketchpad. I don't know if I can just come here and show you. It's this one, by the way. And this is Sketchpad and has like thousands of models, right? So you can basically use all these in your scene. Again, what you have to have in consideration is the amount of triangles or polygons that they have. Fortunately, the web right now can handle lots of triangles, but if you got thousands of these objects with animation, something like it will affect your performance. But it's not difficult. Even with AI right now, the tools out there are becoming better for creating all these props for you using. So yeah.
Hi, so I have two questions. One is if I create something in Adobe Dimension or any other software, how can I import it?
Sorry, I don't understand. Can you repeat a little louder? I don't know if, the
So-
microphone is not working. I don't know.
That's a microphone for live stream, so you need to yell.
Okay, so I have the question. So first question is, if I create something in Adobe Dimension, how can I import that and use it in the browser?
Well, basically, all the example here is just the browser. Again, let me just coming here. Oh, this is not the button. Inspect, yeah. So what we do, you can see that here, if I can actually doing it, here. So yeah, if you see, we can actually have a normal page with a canvas, and we render in a canvas. So what you do is just basically techniques of, for example, putting the canvas in the background, like with positioning absolute, top zero, left zero, and it just render, and you build your normal website on top of that. So it's actually not difficult. It's just the same way you would put a background video. Yeah.
And the second question is, once I create it, let's say as a portfolio, where can I host it? Is it like because the file is large? Does it cause any problem for uploading?
No, the host actually doesn't care anything about that.
Okay.
What could care is the bundle. The most common popular product is Webpack and Vite, sorry. They both have plugins for this kind of extension. Again, this is for making you better, for improve your DX, for your developer experience. But you can just drag 3D models in whatever provider and server, and just they don't care. So yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to ask you something because we spoke a lot about 3D. So I just have two questions. First, it's good to know about 3D design previous to front-end development or anything around that. And the second question is, I forget about. Yes, it's basically, that's one of my questions, yes.
So this is a world in the sense of once you enter, you don't want to go back. But you don't need, there are a lot of resources out there, a lot of courses, a lot of YouTube video free, again, a lot of posts. You actually don't need to know, for a start, everything. You don't need to know 3D. The good thing is that if you learn 3D in the web, that is the same logic for everything outside there. It's the same logic for Blender. It's the same logic for if you want to programming in C++. It's the same logic. All works the same thing. Materials, textures, lighting, everything works the same. What I would recommend you is to be good at JavaScript in the sense of how async, async function works, and closures, the stuff like that. So yeah, you should have a good knowledge of JavaScript, but not in 3D for standing this work. Yeah.
Question which is basically, is all interactions or all immersive web about 3D? Because is any other way to do immersion web without using 3D?
Yes. Again, I just show how I do it, but there are other ways, and they are more just wider the scope than just 3D. You can use sounds, you can use fancy animation with GSAP, for example. You can use effects using the 3D stuff without being 3D. I don't know if you remember one of the portfolio of the Brazilian guy, which is a normal website, but they apply some impossible effect which is playing GS to move the mouse. And that is just one example, but there are plenty out there that you can create this kind of experience without actually create your own 3D world stuff.
I think I will speak with you later on because I'm very interested in creative web development. I know even the guy you name it, but the problem is sometimes you don't know which technologies they have used, and you cannot learn all that kind of things. So thank you so much.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thanks a lot. That was really great. I wanted to ask about, Trace. Trace is the view abstraction layer, right? So I worked a little bit with React 3 Fiber when I started with 3JS. And one of the things I found really difficult was like, I would see something cool in 3JS, like an example, and I'd look at the code and try and work backwards for how to get that into React 3 Fiber. And I found it really quite difficult to translate to the abstraction layer, like the 3JS documentation, how are attributes and properties work in React. And I'm curious, do you have any advice for how to solve that problem, like learning an abstraction layer? If I'm looking at 3JS documentation about a specific geometry node or something like that, how do you translate the underlying documentation to using the abstraction layer? Sorry, I don't think I've asked my question very well, but does that make sense?
Kind of, yes. So the first thing we need to take in consideration is that all the top abstraction, the top front-end frame abstraction, it's used to improve your development experience, right? So everything that you build there, you can actually build in vanilla.js. So it's possible. It's possible. I would recommend you be really good in 3JS first and going to the top abstraction, because otherwise you get used to do the front-end frame abstraction but don't understand the concepts. I would say that normally if you have the code, like the source code, with patience and effort and you pray, you can do it. But yeah, it's possible. Like a specific example, I would need to know what actually you're building. But again, for example, that abstraction that I show you, some of them are not in plain 3JS, but they are all in open source. So what you could do is just go there to the GitHub, see what we do or what they do, and then just copy and try to implement in vanilla.js, because trust me, it's just possible. They don't invent new stuff that are just impossible. Yeah.
Again, thanks so much. The example you showed us of the Brazilian guy's portfolio, was that all happening, all those effects, are those all applied on a canvas element, or are those effects then applied to the page? For example, could I have some 3JS effects applied to like an image, a normal image element?
Hello. Oh, die. Oh. Hello. Okay. Oh.
Hello.
Is this a power button on the bottom?
Hello.
That was. Thank you. So first I start by saying I haven't looked at the code of the guy, but I know the guy and know the guy used 3JS by many of the projects that he do, so I am pretty sure. The way I would do that is just, there are techniques that take your plain HTML, converting it in a canvas, and then apply that effect in the canvas. it was very important for me to show you how the principles, because even if it's a 2D object like that, you actually need to create the scenes, you actually need to import the texture, you actually need to create the material. Even if it's not 3D, you actually use all the concepts there and apply the effect that you want onto that canvas, onto that transform HTML of the site in a canvas, so we can apply all this stuff. You can do, you probably want to do it with some engine like 3JS, because again, playing is quite hard. That is the way I would do it, and I have done some stuff like that. One example is that I like to do heroes and apply this kind of effects on the heroes. For example, we got the playing image, and then again, it could be a video even, but you got the playing image, and then when you hover the mouse, right, you have the effects. For example, I did one with blur. Basically, when we passed, everything was blurred, and when you pass the mouse, it just unblur in the hover. Again, this is just an image, use a plain image tag in HTML, and I transform it in a canvas, then apply the effects. That is the way normally it does.
Yeah, hello.
Well, I can listen to you.
Okay, so user experience is really important if you are building an important product, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned something at the beginning of your demo, saying that everything is going to work because you have good Wi-Fi here. So what happens if I'm running that from where I'm from, say Iwo, Nigeria, and the internet speed is like 2G?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fallback in place, or does that mean there's technology associated that you're segregating or secluding some parts of the, you know, where the internet is messy? How is that handled?
Yeah, I mean, that depends a lot of the guy who build experience and for who you build experience. For example, if you know that you are building your experience for not a fast speed internet, you probably will not use like high fidelity models. You are going to use really low texture, really low models, and you can apply many techniques to try to improve that experience for day, right? For example, there's something, my favorite one is called LOD, which is level of detail, which means basically objects that are really far, just rendered with less triangles. And when you are really close to the camera, it improves the fidelity of the model. Saying all that, if it's still really bad internet, I would probably say it's not the smart thing to build this kind of experience, you know, because in any way you are still need to download some data. So now, again, saying that, saying other thing, there are actually things that you can do without download assets. For example, particles. Particles are handled in the GPU. So they are actually pretty performant in the sense of the JavaScript just send instruction to the GPU without downloading any asset. And that way you don't download anything from the network, but use the instructions of the plain JavaScript, and that are executed in the GPU, which means it's really performant and really fast. That makes sense. I mean, yeah.
I know it's to be tested, really. Because if I was to say you should turn your throttle to 2G, what's going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah. That is for the live stream. Yeah.
It's kind of related to the previous question. Let's imagine we don't have bad internet, we have okay internet.
Mm-hmm.
And we have animations that loads on this internet in like 2 or 3 seconds. But you still have to wait this time. What you can do as a developer to improve this like loading experience? You have to put some loader on the whole website or just on this part, because
I want to show something.
Yeah, because if you go on a website and then animation appears in like 2 or 3 seconds of nothing, the impression is already a bit spoiled.
Yeah, I'll close that website.
Yeah. So I built this one. This is one of the new one, and basically it's maybe this is a way to respond the question. Sorry. And basically, what they have here before, previously, was a video, right? And in comparison with all the things that you have to download with that video, all the data, this is just plain JavaScript, sending instruction to all these particles of the GPU without download any asset, and still get interactive. You can see that I can move them out. It's really silly, right? It's not that wow, but still it's better than a video. It's just a plain image, right? I'm sorry, it's not just a plain image. Just maybe I have to say that don't be afraid of the bandwidth that you have to download for creating this kind of experience. It's not the most important thing or the most considerable thing to have in mind, because you don't actually need to download or put a really high fidelity model on your experience. Of course, it's important to test all the stuff of how much time does it render or consider what happened there. But the things that take bandwidth is basically the model and the textures. So if you are building an experience for a low internet, you probably or get rid of everything of that, or just create this kind of experience without download assets that are better than, download a big image for whatever or videos. This is most performant than download that big assets.
Okay, so the general advice is to build simpler experiences that will load fast and will not have a big performance toll.
My general advice would be like to know for who you are building the experience in first place, because that will tell you how much you can reach. But yes, if you know that your customers are in a bad internet place, probably you need to take that in consideration and not provide that big assets, big 3D models.
Bad internet, but more about the loading. I mean, if you have an okay internet that is moderately fast, but you still have to wait some time for the experience to load, and how do you better present this loading? Well, you can just display nothing, but your customers will see nothing for like 1 or 2 seconds, and
Yeah. No, sorry, I now understand. The way we do that is just the fallback logic. Yeah. So we got 3S also come with something called. Let me show you here. I'm not writing. Why am I writing that? Loaders, which basically, I don't know if this one, but file loaders, I believe so. So basically what they do is tell you how much asset or how much stuff are you loading and provide you the things that are in this experience that tell you the percentage of the load or the download that the page is doing. Let me show you really fast, sorry. That will
Like a progress bar?
Like a progress bar, yeah. For example, that one. You see that stuff. So that provides you 3JS by default. So you don't have to build them from scratch. Yeah.
Just keep doing it.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, again, that is provided by 3JS by default. So you don't have to build them by the scratch. It's just another abstraction built for you.
okay, thank you.
Just following the line of the last two questions, there are some minimum requirements for the 3D models, the 3 canvas?
But in terms of hardware?
Yes, because if we are talking about low broad problem. You know what I mean.
Back on
Okay.
that.
Then we can talk also about computers from years ago, old processors. So
No, absolutely not. The only thing that will broke your experience is Internet Explorer. So don't use it.
yeah, obviously,
will not
yeah.
load your other stuff. And you probably need to check twice Safari because it actually has a WebGL and WebGView. I don't know if WebGView, sorry. WebGL, I am pretty sure. But sometimes some behavior are a little different from the browser, which is a headache, but I hope they don't listen to me. Yeah, but no, there is no requirement. Every mobile browser, every browser out there supports WebGL.
Yeah, but for hardware, because talking about particles graphics GPU, it doesn't matter. It's not.
No.
Okay, thank you. Cheers.
Do we have time for one more? Quick one.
So is it a kind of lazy loading possible here? Because in the site you are showing loading in the beginning 100%. Instead of that, let's say the mouse pointer hovering, I can load first and show the page. After that, I can load the con like that. Is that kind of thing possible?
100% possible, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Can I turn this one on? Hello? Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Technical issues today. Okay. Thank you. Right, I have a few announcements before we go. Thank you very much again for the talk. I think that was very interesting. I'm looking to build a hero page for my website, so I'll be looking at this definitely. Right, I brought this down. Okay, not doing the same mistake again. Right, we're planning a hackathon, me and James. James couldn't be here tonight, but we're planning a hackathon under EdinburghJS. I think the places are already filled, but there's a wait list, so join if you want. It's going to be a great experience. Probably better than these mics, hopefully. Hello? Okay. The goal is to try something new, learn something new in a group. That's on 6th of April next month. The other thing was we have a CityJS ticket given us for free. There's going to be a poll. There's a form in the Scottish Tech Club Discord that you can join. And you can join the waitlist. Sorry, not a waitlist. You can join the poll, and Jamie's going to draw end of this week who's going to get a ticket. I hear there's still a lot of places left. I would join myself, but I'm not here. It's a great opportunity. And thank you for the sponsor, TravelPerk, today. They're hiring, so you can scan the QR code. And I think that's pretty much it for tonight. We're going to the Fountain Bridge after this. If you'd like a pint, join us. Yeah, that's been all. Thank you very much.
In the last year, Scottish Technology Club has run over 20 events and we're now over 3,000 members strong. But we need your help. We want to continue to grow the community, run more events. In the last year, Scottish Technology Club has run over 20 events and we're now over 3,000 members strong. But we need your help. We want to continue to grow the community, run more events, and attract higher profile speakers and opportunities. You can join our Supporters Club and Patreon for as little as £1 a month. For more information, visit scottishtechnology.club/support.